Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone. Last week, I feel like I left you hanging a little bit because I gave you 5 tips last week about how to help your first responder process a negative event at work or a tough call. And I gave you 5 steps to be able to support them. Go back and listen to that episode if you missed it. It's a really good one. 5 things for you to consider and work on. But why I feel like I left you hanging is because one of the key things I talked about is knowing how to process an emotion and taking care of your own mental wellness. Now, we all know if you are here, you're listening to these episodes, if you're coming over and joining our programs, our support programs, you are doing steps to take care of your mental wellness. Yay, you. Good job. Give yourself a big pat on the back. Believe in yourself. That was one of the steps. It was believing in your first responder, but you also need to believe in yourself. Keep growing what you are doing in terms of learning about how to take care of your mental wellness. And this is a great example and demonstration for your first responder. But I felt like it would be very useful to you to talk about and learn more about processing pain, processing emotions for yourself. And for you to be able to practice this, and then you can share it with your first responder. Remember, not sharing with an expectation that they do it just like you, but that they know, letting them know you're taking care of your own mental wellness. And it's a priority to take care of mental wellness in your family. And you're demonstrating with your actions, not just with your words. You're actually practicing these things. And you are growing and changing. And we love to share our lives with our spouses, our first responders. And this will be helpful to them too. It's a way of building connection. So I'm going to give you 5 steps, 5 pieces here. We're going by these 5 tips here, just like last week, to process pain. So the first step, number 1, is asking yourself, are you willing? Are you willing to sit with some emotions? Are you willing to feel something? Are you willing to go through this process? Or this is a question that I asked you to ask your first responder last week too. This is just a gentle way for opening up an invitation. We don't want to be in judgment and criticism of ourselves that I should do this. That is not an inviting way to start this process. That is a way to shut yourself down. So really just opening this kind and gentle moment. Am I willing to process some of my own pain? Am I willing to take care of my own mental wellness? And really honor that answer. Like, yes, I want to, but not in this moment. Like, I have other things that are more pressing to me at this moment. So if you get that kind of answer, then I would say follow it up with, when are you willing to do it? Put it on your schedule. Make it a priority, right? So it might not be this moment. That's fine. But when is it going to be? Because we always make room in our lives for things that are important for us. So if you're hearing, yes, I'm willing to process my emotions. I'm willing to learn how to process pain. I'm willing to be in this for me and my first responder and my long-term mental health and wellness. And if it's not this moment, pick a moment, pick a time, make that commitment for yourself. That will start changing you. If it's just no, or it's a yes, but not now, follow through, right? You will start to change on that. If it's no, you're not willing, then the next thing you can do is just kind of be curious with yourself. Well, I wonder why I'm not willing. And this will give you places to work on the road, right? I'm not willing because I'm sitting at a soccer game and I might cry and be upset. And I'm really wanting to not do that here in this public place. Okay, got it. So maybe it's someplace else. Maybe you would be willing to walk over to your car and miss, 10 minutes of the soccer game. Just really being kind and generous to yourself. Am I willing? Are you willing? All right. The next step of the process is to write or share your narrative. So remember last time I talked about the circles of grief that you want to dump out. You can dump out your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts to somebody who is further away from the problem, from the heartache, from the difficult thing. And this is where I really think you can do this with friends. This is a very useful place to do it with a therapist or a coach too. That's somebody who's outside that circle. They're going to provide a different kind of space and feedback than a friend would, because the friend is going to want to like jump in and give advice and kind of what we call be in the pool with you. And you might get a little bit stuck in with them sometimes, but do find a place though. There is something that happens when you tell the narrative that it changes things, getting it out of your head. I think if you aren't hooked up with a support group yet, or you're not hooked up with a coach yet, I do think writing, and even if you are hooked up with these things, writing it down is a really good way. This is a way to self-coach yourself, that you don't have to deal with somebody else's opinion in terms of if you're going to be sharing it with friends or family or something like that. You don't have to worry about somebody else's opinion and input and advice. But you do want to put the narrative down. You want to get it out into a neutral space, and so that you can have it outside of yourself instead of it spinning over and over in your head. And then step number 3 is to review this and to review the narrative. Like take that little bit of step away and review it and see when you're looking through it and what your emotional response is in the moment. So I had given the example last time about our first responders, events that can be very difficult and definitely need some time of processing, especially if they have children, is if they see death of children. That is a very emotional, evoking event. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words there. So that can be one that really strikes an emotion. So when you're reviewing, you may notice, like if you wrote down about something that your first responder was doing, just in that previous example from last week, that when you think about if it's a death of a child, you are very likely to have an emotional response. And so in part of processing the pain is allowing yourself to have that emotional response on purpose, right? In a safe environment for doing this, not for the purpose of dwelling in it forever. It's not something, I don't want you to practice evoking the response just randomly all the time. But when you're doing this thing of processing pain, it is to let this emotional response come up on purpose. And then to go into step number 4 is to really be with the emotional response, not up in your head analyzing it or worrying about it or thinking about it, but actually drop into your body and to feel that emotional response in your body. That emotional response in your body is coming from you thinking about an event, thinking about something, this narrative that you wrote down. And we want to really get good at being able to be in the presence of an emotional response without resisting it, so it can pass through us. So when you have this emotional response, we want to do things like feel where it is in your body. Where does it reside in your body? Is it in your stomach? Is it in your heart? Is it in your throat? We have all these expressions in our language that talk about emotional response in the body. Weak in the knees, cold and clammy hands, butterflies in the stomach, having heartache, right? These are all phrases that we use that describe the physical response we have to an emotion, where it sits and lives in our body. So just go to that place and let yourself experience those physical sensations. Not analyzing them, but just really actually experiencing them. You can experience them and describe them to yourself. Or if you're doing this with somebody else, describe it out loud. What is the shape of it? What is the size of it? What is the texture of it? Does it have a color? Where are the edges of this feeling? Is it buzzy? Is it light? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it heavy? Is it thick? Really get into things to help you lean into feeling the feeling of an emotion. What you'll notice most likely is as you lean into feeling it, it's going to change. It could intensify or it could lessen. It can move through your body. What we're wanting to show ourselves is that a feeling, an emotion is just a vibration in the body that you can have presence to. We don't have to have resistance to it. As you allow for it, what you'll most likely notice is that it shifts and it changes and it moves through you. Now, you don't want to start out looking for this, but it's about allowing for this. In time, when you've been with the emotion long enough, then we want to move into step number 5, which is to breathe it through. Give yourself some nice, big cleansing breaths and long exhales. Fill yourself up with light and love and exhale away all of those vibrations. So step number 1, are you willing? Step number 2, write or share the narrative about the thing that you're worrying about that's causing lots of emotions. Step number 3 is to review it and to pause in a moment where there is a big emotion that you're willing to feel. Step number 4 is to really just lean into feeling it without judgment, without trying to make it go away. Describe it, be with it, allow for it to move through your body. And step number 5 is those cleansing breaths. Breathe in love and energy. Breathe out that high vibration, taking really good care of yourself. This is a great exercise to do over and over and over again, because what it can show your brain is that you know how to process an emotion, that an emotion, a feeling is simply a vibration in your body that you can experience. Where we become so stuck and where we get scared is when we resist it. And the truth is, we feel terrible in the resistance, but we never let ourselves drop in to process it and to be able to move on. Now, you might have to do this many times with a particular event or a particular emotion. That's okay. Each time you do it and you allow for it, you build up your capacity for allowing emotions to well and go through, to come up and to come down. And we develop more capacity over the wave-like features that emotions have for us. Okay, this is what it is about processing pain. Let me know if you have questions about this. I am here to help. This is something that's really key that can be very beneficial to do with another person who's trained in this, to do with another person who can provide that neutral space and really hold space for you while you're doing this and while you're learning this. It is something to be practicing on our own too, as just a normal part of being a human. I think of this as like brushing our teeth. It's just a normal part of taking care of your mental wellness, to be in the practice of being able to experience emotions, to feel them, to not be worried or anxious or resisting or turning away from them. We don't have to lean into all of them or go to places you don't want to go, right? That's why we started with, are you willing? Find the ones that you're willing to be with, you're willing to learn with, you're willing to take time with. You don't have to go into some deep, dark hole of a secret. No, start with things that are easy, that feel like, yes, I can be in this. It's going to teach you, it's going to grow you, it's going to be an example to your partner. All right, my friends, be committed, be present to your mental wellness, your mental care. Show up with love and curiosity for yourself and for your spouse. This is how we grow love and connection. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.